Yo guys, what is going on? It's your boy Farfetch here, back with a brand new YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be going over what is the best keyboard position to use for Fortnite Competitive 2020. So we're going to look at how a few pro players actually position their keyboards. We're going to see what seems to be the trend, and then at the end of the video, I'm also going to then explain how each one of them have their own disadvantages and advantages. And for anyone that actually doesn't know what keyboard position to use, I will be telling you guys how to find out in this video. So if you guys do go ahead to enjoy the video, you know what to do for me, just drop a like, really does support the channel. If you want to go the extra mile, you can also subscribe to me, turn on post notifications, therefore you never miss an upload just like this on the channel. Honestly, all the support is greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let's just get straight into the video. So what I'm going to do first of all is actually run through about 5 pro players who actually use different keyboard positions. Some of these are extremely creative, like you guys may actually be surprised by some of the keyboard positions these people are actually using. And transitioning from that, we may as well just look straight at Symphony and his keyboard position. This is one of the most creative and absurd positions I've seen out of all of them. And as you guys can see on screen right now, he plays with his keyboard literally upside down. I've never seen any player play with a keyboard like this, and I'm gonna be 100% honest and transparent with this. This position, I can't see how it would give many people an advantage at all. Like, I actually gave it a try for myself, and it really gave strain to my wrist and my fingers, and never hurt that much. Like, I was literally doing a workout with both my arm and fingers. Like, this keyboard position is honestly so hard to play with, and it's more just one of them which you have to go out your way and give it a try. But I can't promise that many of you guys will like this. And in regards to advantages, as I already mentioned, there isn't really any. Like, I was thinking maybe it'd save desk room, but it doesn't do that whatsoever. If anything, tilting his keyboard in this way, he then has to have his whole arm virtually on the desk, which if anything just takes up more room. So maybe just his posture, the way he kind of leans over his desk, and maybe where his monitor is positioned, potentially that could be the exact reason he has a keyboard like this. But honestly, like, I haven't known any other pro player or anyone else to use this position. If you guys actually play with this keyboard position or know anyone who does, comment down below. Like, Symphony has to be the only one. And moving on guys, we're now going to talk about Mongrel's keyboard position. So a lot of you guys probably already know how Mongrel positions his keyboard. Like, you do see it on his streams. As you can see right here, he actually positions his keyboard almost vertically. And I do say almost vertically because it's not quite there yet. Like, it's not 100% vertical, but it's almost there, as you guys can see on screen. He's actually always positioned his keyboard like this. Like, I'm talking since like season 4. Like, it's kind of just been one of those things that Mongrel's always done. But this position right here isn't actually that unusual. It's actually very common now. A lot of pro players are doing this. Now, the reason people actually position their keyboard just like this is mainly to create more room on their desk, which they can then use up for their mouse. So if you guys actually have a full-size keyboard or maybe a TKL, if you also then have maybe a small desk and can't get the sufficient mousepad room, this is definitely a keyboard position you'd want to try out. That's the reason Mongrel uses it. He wants to get the most mouse room as possible, considering he's on a TKL keyboard, which will take up more of his desk in maybe comparison to maybe a 60%. For example, the Ducky 1-2 Mini. Like, you guys will notice, not many people with 60% keyboards will be using this keyboard position. And that's solely because when you have a 60% keyboard, the whole point of that is to actually be minimal and save room. So it kind of excludes the need to actually position your keyboard like Mongrel does. But then again, Tfue does position his keyboard like this, and he does have a 60%. And even despite how small Tfue's keyboard is, the reason he actually still uses his keyboard in this position is to save room. Like, he still wants the most room. Like, being able to have that flexibility and space wherever you move your mouse is just so nice and can really make you a better player. But also, one thing that it is also situational and dependent on your sensitivity. So if you have a low sense, you'll need to move your mouse a little bit more and need more mouse room. So this may be beneficial. But on the other hand, if you are playing on a high sensitivity, you won't actually need much mouse room. There won't be much moving of your mouse being done. So you won't really need to use this position. But again, it's always preference. Another one which you will just have to try out if you haven't already. Personally, this does hurt my wrist, and that is the reason I haven't done it. So that is a position to consider. And guys, moving on to the next keyboard position you can use. This is actually from Booga. You know, the guy who won the World Cup. Everyone knows who he is. So in his time playing Fortnite, he has actually used 2 keyboard positions. The first one we won't really need to talk about too much because he literally just used it completely straight. You guys can see it on screen, but this right here is like the normal standard keyboard position anyone would really use. This is like the boomer position. So like your grandma or your mom who maybe don't know much about computers, they'll probably play with this position. It's kind of like the casual to gaming. To be honest, this is getting less and less popular, and for Booga to be using this and even winning the World Cup using this position, it's actually kind of crazy. But the reason we won't be talking about that too much is because he's actually changed his keyboard position, and he has done exactly that by just simply tilting his keyboard slightly up in the top right hand corner. I'm pretty sure this is how Dr. Lupo used to play. Like, I remember trying this out because of Dr. Lupo, and I don't know many other pro players who actually stream and showcase them playing like this, but either way, I know Booga is definitely at the top of that list. I think it's more preference booger and also based on his binds. There isn't actually too many advantages or disadvantages in using your keyboard just like this. I know he actually only had his keyboard in the normal or casual position where it was just completely standard or straight, only when he was using his 60% keyboard, and ever since he went over to TKL he actually did change it up a little bit. And once again, the only reason I think he actually did this is solely just a preference. Maybe with his binds it just fits a little bit more comfortable to him. Like, you still get the same desk room, you're not saving up any room for your mousepad. So besides comfortability and general preference, there isn't much more to this. And also, one thing which is kind of vital for me to mention about Booger's position here is that it may also be down to his posture. Like the way he sits in his chair, he sits kind of like, he doesn't really slouch that much. He kind of sits up straight but also just relaxes back into his chair. It's kind of hard to explain, but as you can see, like, he's kind of just chilling, but he does have great posture and he's sitting up quite upright, like he isn't leaning over his desk or anything. Maybe this gives him a little bit more control over both his mouse and just his fingers when pressing his keybinds. Probably something to consider. And now that we have went all over that, it's probably time for me to discuss how you guys can actually find the perfect keyboard position. And the way in which you can do that and find the most ideal position for you is to actually use what I have shown in this video, the various ways other people actually position their keyboards, and just simply give them all a try. It's that easy. You'll soon find what is the most comfortable for you and what isn't just by testing each one. Just remember that it is, again, all preference. You may not like any of the positions I've mentioned in this video, and even these may be too extreme, or may just simply strain your hand or wrist while using them. Kind of the reason I don't use anything too crazy either, and I've just went with keeping my keyboard completely straight. Please don't try and force yourself to learn or practice with anything I mentioned in this video either. Like, if it just feels unnatural or does hurt or cause stress to the ligament within your hand and or wrist, it's really not worth it or something you can even adapt to very well. Although potentially reworking your keybinds a little or just trying to understand the correct posture to use can in fact help in that. Honestly, just go with what feels right and don't spend too long trying to copy what other pro players use, as what may work well for them may work horribly for you, and that's just the truth. But of course, if you do want to give them a try regardless and just experiment with what feels well and what doesn't, make sure that you do consider your keyboard size, the game sensitivity you're using, whether that is a high or low sense, and maybe the amount of mouse room you currently have. These three things will be super important to factor, as they will help you almost shortcut your way to finding what will work best. You know, I did briefly touch on this, but if you are using a low sense, for example, this means you'll need to move your mouse around a lot more to make sharp plays or edits. Therefore, you will then need to prioritize having a big enough surface area for your mouse, especially if you are not using a 60%, maybe a TKL or full-size keyboard. In that case, you'll most probably want to go with Mongrel's keyboard position, keeping your keyboard close to, if not fully vertical, just to get the benefits of having more space. It isn't rocket science. But with that all being said, that is all I really have for you guys today. If you did go ahead to enjoy the video, make sure you guys do drop a like for me. It's kind of the least you can do if you got to this point. I'm sure they're doing my job right. You know, you can also subscribe to the channel with post notifications turned on, therefore you never miss an upload just like this. Really does mean the world. I hope you all have an amazing day. It's been your boy Farfetch, and yeah, peace.